Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. It's that time of the week once again when the weekly challenges go ahead and refresh. In terms of this week, we do have some better overall, more challenging events on offer that are probably going to take you a little bit longer to complete. We also have some fairly decent rewards on offer with 2 monetary rewards and the 6-star roulette ticket reward, which of course can yield some of the best prizes in game. So let's head over for an overview of October week 3. This will end on the 24th of October 2024 at midnight. As we can see, starting off, we do have the Sunday Cup, one of the newest events to the game, added with update 1.52. This one takes place at Tokyo Expressway on the central clockwise layout. We'll then move over to a bit of a double header by Grand Valley as we start off with the historic sports car Masters on the Grand Valley South reverse layout. We'll then move over to the full layout with Grand Valley Highway 1 and the returning BAC Mono 1 make event. That one is actually a quite fun event overall. We'll then move over to the Nissan GTR Cup, this time at Deep Forest Raceway, before finishing off with the WTC 800 at Circuit de St. Croix A layout. So of course, in terms of the rewards on offer, for completing one event, you're going to get 100,000 credits. For completing 3 events is 200,000 credits. And if you complete all 5 of the events, you will be awarded with the 6-star roulette ticket reward. One of the better prizes in game will probably be yours, anywhere from money to free cars. So heading over to event number 1 this week, we have the Sunday Cup over at Tokyo Expressway central clockwise. Of course, being one of the latest additions to the game, it's mainly aimed at the use of the new Toyota Hiace. Whilst it is certainly a fairly short and sweet event, it's by no means the easiest in game just due to how tight and enclosed the layout itself is. So the car of choice for this one was of course the Toyota Hiace DX. So the event itself is getting underway here. There are 11 AI on grid, 12 cars in total including yourself, and as mentioned, this is a fairly tight and enclosed layout. A lot of the AI will just wander into the middle of the track and kind of block you off. As you can see here, we're going to try and start making some moves, but do end up caught behind the Daihatsu Copen. Because the event is so short in length, and when you're running it on the hardest difficulty and trying to keep in the range of the other vehicles, you will probably find yourself getting stuck in different groupings. So towards the back of the grid, you've got this typical group that builds up. This usually has the other Toyota Hiace delivery van in there, a couple of Priuses, and of course one of the Mazdas, or sometimes one of the Honda Fits. So again, you're just going to have to work your way through this grouping, but almost instantly you're going to find yourself battling along with another group of vehicles, usually towards the end of that first lap. And again, they're going to be very much side by side and blocking off pretty much the entirety of the road. If you're aiming for the clean race bonus, you're just going to have to try and pick them off one by one, just looking for your opportunities. So we've got a couple of the Toyota Aquas here. We're going to manage to get down the inside of those and get those overtaken. However, we then have to try and get past some of the Honda Fits, which were just blocking off the road. We're then going to take a clipping from the Toyota Aqua, who's going to send us sideways into the Honda Fit, but we do manage to keep it going there and eventually get it down the inside of second place. Now at this point, there's a fair gap to first place here. We have the Atenza sedan, which is way down the road, and eventually we do manage to catch him just by being much quicker and more stable through the corners. So around the outside we go, and we do manage to take that first place. After that, it's all about just getting to the finish line as cleanly as possible, and of course as quickly as well. We eventually nearly took a 2-second lead there. So that is going to give us our first tick of the week, and of course with it the first reward. In terms of the payout, it's not too bad, 40,500 credits for that one, with said clean race bonus, of course at 50% extra to the base payout, and of course we're going to take 100,000 credits ticket from completing the first event of the week. So let's move over to event number 2, where it's going to get a little bit trickier. This is the historic sports car Masters over at Grand Valley South Reverse. There is a PP limit in place of 580, as well as some regulations such as the car being before a certain date. So you will have to use an older car built to around about 580 pp. And honestly, it doesn't always feel enough. So we're of course using the R31 Nissan Skyline here. This is a fairly fantastic car. The GTSR is incredibly stable when tuned correctly. finally, we have a bunch of upgrades on running on these sports mediums. It's a fairly packed grid at 15 AI opponents, 16 including yourself, on a fairly short layout of Grand Valley. Now, the majority of the back markers are going to be quite easy to pick off. You'll probably find yourself picking them off one by one. Every now and again, you might run into a group of them, but where the real challenge lies in this event is actually a couple of the Lamborghinis, mainly the Countach and the Moira. Those pair are going to be absolute nightmares if you don't start getting through the rest of the field sooner rather than later. As you can see, by the time we're on lap 2, the front running AI has a gap of 16 seconds. The other car you need to worry about is the Lamborghini Moira. As long as that one is caught behind AI and you get past it sooner rather than later, you shouldn't have much trouble with that one. But if it does break free, trust me, that thing will rocket through the grid rather quite quickly. Eventually, we do get ourselves into P2 at the beginning of lap 3, and it will take us until lap 5 to actually get that time down and get up against the Countach. Now, just be aware that this thing is incredibly quick for 580 pp, and it's also rather quite wide for such a tight layout. As you can see, it comes into the final corner where we're just going to have to dive for it and hope the car sticks. So we're side by side, the Countach getting a little bit unstable through there, and we do manage to get that position gained, but we do know that that Lamborghini is going to be much quicker than us on the straight, so we use the Skyline 2000 as a bit of a slip and try and get ourselves up across the line before the Lamborghini can eventually pick us off, just narrowly taking the win by around about a tenth of a second, and that is tick number 2 of the week. Now, with the clean race bonus, it's not the best, paying 82,500 over that 5 laps, and we do get our 4-star roulette ticket reward as a daily driving marathon. Moving into event number 3 next, we once again go back to Grand Valley, this time on the full Highway 1 layout for the BAC Mono 1 meet. This is the special event for this week, and definitely one of my personal favourite 1 meets, as it does produce some very tight racing. So in terms of the mono that I'm running here, I didn't make any changes other than putting the car on the Sport Soft compound of tyre. Overall, it just makes it handle better and just feel much better, whilst keeping the grid as close as possible. Now, in terms of the AI, they're going to be very much in line with yourself. It's all about just being quicker than them over the laps, and that's really where you're going to have to start putting the work in. You'll have to try and pick them off one by one. Thankfully, we aren't starting at the back of the grid for this one. We are starting close to the back, just before the midpoint of the pack. So start picking them off one by one. The best way to do it is getting them under braking. The AI in Gran Turismo 7 do tend to brake a little bit early, so as long as you can outbrake them, more than likely you're going to gain those positions there. Now, as you can see, towards the front of the grid is a bunch of packs. You'll notice that sort of P7, P8 onwards, there's going to be sort of a grouping and then a bit of a gap between the front running group. As you can see, we do end up with a bit of a side-by-side battle here with one of the monos, which we're eventually going to be able to nab 6th position off and then also gain 5th position as well. However, as we move on through the event, like I mentioned, you're going to run into the second pack. Now, thankfully, this is where first place is going to sit. Again, it's a very tight and compact pack, so just start picking them off one by one and you should eventually get yourself into the lead. Again, the best way to experience this event is just stick the car on Sport Softs, stick it on the hardest difficulty and have some proper close 1 meet racing. That's why I absolutely love this BAC Mono 1 meet. So all the way through this midsection, we're in a side-by-side battle here. We do eventually gain 3rd position, so we are on the podium, and a little bit later on down the line on the 5th and final lap, we're going to make our move and get ourselves into 1st place. It does seem that the AI drops off, as we did end up building a 3-second gap in the end, and of course that's going to give us our 3rd tick of the week and our 2nd reward of the week. Now, in terms of the payout, I believe I didn't take the clean race bonus here, so it was only 100,000 credits. Of course, if you do get that, you'll get 150k, and for the 3 events completed, it's 200,000 credits on our next reward ticket. Up for the 4th event, we have the return of the Nissan GTR Cup. this time at Deep Forest Raceway. So of course this is open to any GTR badged vehicle in the game, and also it is limited to 700 pp, which is actually quite fair in comparison to the likes of the historic Sports Masters. Now of course my car of choice would be the brand new T-Spec for this one, built to around about 690 pp, and that was more than enough to get this event done and dusted in absolutely no time. I would quite easily say this is the easiest event of the week, just purely because of that 700 limit being incredibly fair in comparison to what the majority of the AI are running. You will probably pick them off one by one, no issues at all. And whilst there is quite a big gap to the front runners, honestly, you'll probably make that up on the straights mainly, where their GTRs just seem to not be able to keep pace. Just be aware though, they do have four-wheel drive and a ton of aero on them, so they are pretty quick in the corners, and I do find that outbraking them can be a little bit difficult. So you really want to build for speed here, so that on the straight sections towards the back end of the lap and the beginning of the lap, you can really make up that time. As you can see, we come out of the tunnel on lap 2 and we're already up to the front running R33 and the GTR Premium. Eventually we do manage to get down the inside of both. We're going to take the lead at this point and then never look back, building up a nice chunky gap of over 25 seconds by the time we come up across the line to complete this event. That is going to be tick number 4 of the week, and one more event to go until we're done and dusted here. So in terms of the payout for this one, unfortunately I didn't get the clean race bonus again. A little bit of contact there took that away from me, but it's 102,000 credits. Overall, in terms of time taken, you're probably looking at around about 6 to 7 minutes to get this done. It's really not the longest of the GTR events. So let's move into the final event of the week. It's the WTC 800 at Circuit de Saint Croix A layout. Now, typically, I am not a fan of this track at all, but I genuinely do enjoy this event. It's a little bit longer as well at 8 laps, which doesn't sound like much, but this is a fairly chunky layout, taking around about 2.5 minutes minimum to get yourself around. And I chose the NSX GT500 from the year 2000 for this one. So there's 20 cars on grid in total, including yourself, and it's really going to be a race of strategy than it is more than overtaking on the track. So I went for a set of racing mediums and fuel mix 6. This is to try and get me to the latter stages of the event where I can jump on the racing softs and run it at fuel mix 1 just to pick those final few AIs off. I did have a few sketchy moments, unfortunately, mainly due to this yellow flag where I lost a ton of time. So instead of picking up the penalty, I of course had to brake and sit and wait behind the Alfa Romeo as the yellow flag remained out, as we had a stranded Lexus on the track. Unfortunately, because we lost so much time due to that yellow flag and trying not to get a penalty, it really did kind of mess up our strategy. Whilst you'll probably get the majority of the overtakes done once the AI start pitting, typically the majority of them will just do one single stop. So again, you do need to be aware. Of course, we're going longer and deeper into the race, and the main car you want to watch out for is the GTR Nismo, which we just saw here. We are eventually going to get track position on them, at least for a little while, but unfortunately, of course, we're going to drop back as we still have a pit stop to do. So we're going to drag it out at fuel mix 6. We're not really getting anywhere on the mediums. I do feel like tyre wear here is quite low. So at this point, we're going to box in at the end of lap 5. We did turn the engine up a little bit slightly at the end of the lap just to burn off some excess fuel. And of course, we're going to go for the racing softs at this point. And we're also going to fill the car to full and ignore the little dot. The main reason for this is we want to run it at full fuel mix 1 to be as powerful as possible, and honestly the cars will just drink fuel in that mode, so just be aware of that you might want to ignore the little notch on the fuel bar. So eventually we do leave the pit lane and we come out in P10, just dropping a position to the Chevy Corvette there, but we are quite quickly going to start making these positions up. Now we're running the fastest setup possible, so we've already picked the Corvette off and we will pick off the rest of the grid. As we go on to lap 8 though, we are currently sat in P3, 9 seconds behind the leader and still having to pick off the WRX ahead of us. We'll eventually get down the inside and get that position done and dusted, but again at this point we've still got 8.5 seconds to make up over one single lap, and it will be right in the dying moments of the event where we use our much better top speed to get the slip, pull out and get this one done and dusted as we take P1 away from the GTR, round the final corner, and eventually cross the line as the winners of this event. As you can see, in total it took just over 25 minutes to complete. Definitely a much more enjoyable strategy race, and I feel like Polyphony should just do more of these with better payouts. So tick number 5 of the week, no clean race bonus there, 200k, and of course a 6-star roulette ticket reward. So let's head over and claim our rewards for this week. So as always, we'll open up the daily driving marathon first. Thankfully it was a 4-star this week and not the typical 3-star I keep getting thrown at me. I absolutely hate those. And we're actually going to take away 500,000 credits off this ticket, so not too bad for a few minutes of my time just racking up that 24 or whatever it is miles. So there we go, 500k off the daily driving marathon. We're then going to add the credit ticket, so we've got 100,000 credits to add to the account. Of course that's not too bad, that is for completing one event. For completing 3 events, we're going to add the 200,000 credits. And of course, finally, we're going to head into the 6-star roulette ticket reward. Now, this can yield anything from a bunch of credits, of course, cars, and some of the best things in game. So, of course, I'd either want the Group 1 race car or some of the credits. And thankfully, we're going to end up with 500,000 credits to finish off this week's rewards. So overall, a fairly strong week, especially in terms of credits. A massive thank you to all of my channel members. If you do want to join, it's massively appreciated. And I do want to thank you guys at home for watching this video. Have a fantastic start to your weekend. Take care, guys. Peace.